Hello, everyone. I'm citizen spokesperson Ashley Waxman Bakshi. Today is August 1st, 2024. This is the live daily briefing of the Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office. We are live on Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and available afterwards wherever you get your podcasts. Please start submitting questions in the chat, and as always, like and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. Today is day 300 of the October 7th war and the Hamas hostage crisis. Day 300 that the hostages are being starved and tortured and raped and executed in the Hamas terror dungeons. And we need your voice to demand Hamas let them go now. Israel is preparing for Iran's retaliation. Iran is openly vowing revenge and is threatening to escalate its seven-front war against Israel. Iran is mad that Israel allegedly eliminated Hamas arch-terrorist in Tehran because it wants to protect the leaders of its proxy armies so they can keep attacking Israel. Israel's alleged elimination of October 7th monster Haniya was not an escalation. Hamas's October 7th massacre was an escalation. Hezbollah's entry into this war on October 8th, launching 6,500 rockets, missiles, and drones, was an escalation. Houthi Islamic pirate attacks were an escalation. Attacks from Iranian proxy armies in Iraq and Syria were an escalation. Flooding the West Bank with weapons for jihad on Jews was an escalation. Iran's direct, massive aerial attack in April, 350 missiles and drones, that was an escalation. Israel is fighting in self-defense. It is defending its people against the Iranian regime and its proxy armies in a brutal seven-front regional war. It wants to de-escalate by pushing away the threats. Iran's proxies declared war on Israel. Israel is defending itself. Iran's threat of revenge is not self-defense. It's a continuation of its aggression. The world must stop, not appease, Iran's aggression, because a Middle East dominated by the Ayatollahs of Iran will not be safe for anyone. Not for Israelis, not for Arabs, and not for the West. Israel understands the problem. It's not Hamas or Hezbollah. It's Iran. Iran chooses every day to continue fanning the flames of war. Iran must be held directly accountable for its direct and indirect acts of war against the people of Israel. Its criminal caliphate must be stopped. In the past, Iran understood that at worst, attacks by it and its proxy armies would be blunted, and occasionally Iran might succeed with the brutal murder of innocent people in Israel. Israel is telling Iran, wrong. The world must say the same. Iran must be made to understand the real price for funding rocket, missile, and drone attacks, and for the kind of barbaric rape and murder carried out on October 7th. The price must be so expensive that Iran prefers to end its seven-front war on the Jewish people. Tell your leaders to tell Iran's pyromaniac ayatollahs, stop fueling the ring of fire around Israel before Israel has to fight that fire. Today, Israel confirmed that the strike on Hamas terrorist mastermind Mohammed Deif was in fact successful. Deif joins Ismail Haniya, Marwan Issa, Salah Haruri, and a long list of Hamas commanders in hell, no longer attacking Israelis or oppressing Gazans. Hamas's leadership is crumbling. Most of Hamas's 24 battalions have been reported to be dismantled. Israel now controls many key points in the Gaza Strip, including the Philadelphia corridor, the Gazan border with Egypt, and Israel has mostly turned off the weapons smuggling pipeline used to massacre civilians on October 7th. It's clear Israel is winning. It allegedly eliminated Haniya in Tehran, and Hamas has not retaliated. Why? Not because it doesn't want to, but because it can't. Israel allegedly took out Hamas's leader, and there was no rockets on Tel Aviv. Hamas isn't any less murderous, and there is still intense fighting, but Israel's forces have taken away much of Hamas's ability to harm our people. We're thankful that much of the goal set out at the war's outset Destroying Hamas's ability to threaten the people of Israel has so far been achieved. We're thankful that those arguing that Hamas is an ideology that can't be beaten were absolutely wrong. A goal that has only been partially achieved is the return of our hostages. 115 hostages are still held by what's left of Hamas, including my cousin, 19-year-old Agam Berger, and 2 toddlers. Today is 300 days since Hamas cruelly tore these children, young people, and elderly, some Holocaust survivors, from their families. 15 women are still held in the hands of the Hamas rapist regime. It's been almost 10 months. You can do the math for yourself. Every day that passes is an immediate threat to these women's lives. Hamas and their Qatari hosts have strung us along for months. Israel will keep beating Hamas, and we ask that you amplify the call, unconditionally surrender and release our hostages. A few words to our viewers. For all those asking what you can do to help, there are links to a JGive campaign across our social media. Those donations provide the support we need to keep getting out the word. I'd also ask that you sign up to our email list. I promise we won't bother you with junk. This will allow us to get you our message directly and occasionally share special content. Now let's take some questions from our audience watching live on social media.
Our first question comes from Joan on Instagram Live, who asks, why are you Israelis so angry about 12 dead children in Israel when Israel has killed thousands of children in Gaza?
We are angry for the death of every child. But you cannot equate between a terrorist organization, Hezbollah, who decided to launch its war on us on October 8th, and targeted Majd al-Shams, which is a civilian community in the Golan Heights. There are no military targets within Majd al-Shams. It specifically targeted a civilian town on purpose, whereas the IDF, Israel, is defending itself against a terrorist organization, Hamas, and Hamas is literally embedding itself and under civilian populations in tunnels under civilian infrastructure. Hamas, as you might know, and if you don't know, I'm here to tell you, Hamas is using its civilian population as human shields. And Israel never targets children and never targets civilian populations. It always targets Hamas, Hamas's weapons, Hamas's factories for weapons, which are embedded in civilian population. So if you're going to blame someone for the death of Gazan civilian population, it is Hamas that is responsible.
This question coming in for a number of different viewers across platforms, asking, do you really think killing Hania will change anything?
That's an excellent question, and I think, firstly, time will tell. But if I'd have to make an estimation, I think that this is a massive blow to Hamas, to their reputation, and to the way the surrounding Arab proxies and the terrorist proxies and Iran see what alleged capabilities are. Not only was he assassinated, taken out, but it was also done on Tehran soil. And so this sends a very, very loud message to Iran that nobody is safe on Iranian soil. In addition, every terrorist must know that he is not safe. When you target innocent Israelis, you will be faced with what you should be faced with. Israel, this also on a internal political level for Hamas, this leaves Hamas in shambles. A power struggle will now arise, which will also confuse Hamas even more and hopefully allow Israel to more quickly and more efficiently end this war against Hamas and begin to look for a brighter future.
Our next question comes from Instagram Live from As Told by a Jew Mum, who asks, is there a coalition prepared to help Israel fend off Iran's attack like they did last time?
Well, I certainly hope so, and I certainly believe so. I believe that the Western countries, our Western allies, as we have seen previously, and not only our Western allies, but our allies in the region, understand the geopolitics in this war. You have to understand that the things that they might be saying at the United Nations or in the media is very different to when Israel is actually under a threat, a direct threat from Iran, and a threat to its existence. And I believe that there is a coalition that is prepared to come and help defend Israel. But even if they're not, don't be worried, because Israel has the capability and the power to defend itself, and we will always do so.
Rivka Ruth Golan asks on Instagram, do we know if the Iran attack will happen today?
Of course, we don't know something like that. And I wouldn't give the Iranians so much credit as to give us a warning ahead of time. But they did last time, so we are still yet to see. Last time that they did attack us, there was an indirect warning given, because I believe that Iran understands that it cannot actually eliminate Israel. And if it actually tries to eliminate Israel, Israel has the ability to defend itself in any way possible. And so I don't believe they will be sending a direct warning this time about the time, but we're still yet to see what will happen.
Noah G asks on Instagram, is Israel prepared to take on a multi-front war?
Israel is prepared to take on whoever threatens its existence. As we have seen in the past, if you don't know much about history, but in 1948, when Israel declared its independence, it was also attacked on 7 fronts. And it was a much different military back then. It was literally Holocaust survivors that were given a weapon and told, go fight, without even knowing the language of their commanders. And miraculously, we survived. Because no matter what, Israel will always survive, because there is too much at stake, too much to risk. We understand that Israel's fight is not only to defend the people here in Israel, but Israel's role in the world is to defend the Jewish people everywhere. And so there is just too much at risk. Israel is prepared to fight, and it will fight. But it is very important to stress, Israel does not want to fight.
Our next question comes on Instagram from Ariella Newberger, who asks, how do we address Western media's systemic manipulation of well-meaning citizens to think that Israel is the villain in this horrible ongoing story?
Well, what we're doing here is actually trying to counter that media bias. And I think if you live abroad, the best things that you can do is, firstly, use your voice and your platforms. Even if you believe that not many people are following you, you never know how far that post could reach. Share the information not only on social media, but also in person with all the people that you interact with your friends at work. When you hear a conversation that is clearly anti-Israel, or not even necessarily anti-Israel, but is influenced by the media that these people have seen in Western countries, chime in on the conversation. Don't sit on the side silently. I know sometimes it can feel intimidating to enter a conversation, but you being here means that you are receiving the most up-to-date information. So make sure you're using your voice. And of course, don't forget that you live in democracies. So use your voice to protest on the street, to go outside of these media companies and protest and demand that they remain neutral and unbiased in their coverage of what is happening in the Middle East. Send them letters, call for boycotts. Use everything in your power in your democracies, because fortunately for you, you live in democracies and you can use your voice.
Matan El Samin asks on Instagram, is there any progress on the hostage deal?
So as far as I know, for the latest that I know is that Israel made a few additions and accepted some of Hamas's demands, and other Hamas's demands tweaked a little bit and gave a counter offer. And it is now in the hands of Hamas yet again to accept the deal to release our hostages. That's where it stands currently. And we just ask that you keep praying that it will happen very, very soon.
Leah on Instagram asks, what will the IDF do to protect citizens, and how will they prevent a repeat of Majd al-Shams and the drone attack on Tel Aviv?
So Israel is always prepared, and we do have, as you may know, very sophisticated technology. Unfortunately, as we have seen in Majd al-Shams, sometime, when 6,500 rockets are sent to you from Hezbollah, occasionally one of those rockets gets through, and it's a tragedy. But Israel is prepared, and we have many reservists prepared and ready to defend every citizen here in Israel.
And the last question today comes from Ed on YouTube, who asks, what is the toll that the war has been taking on Israeli families, individuals, and society at large?
That's a great question, and for me, it's a personal question. Just this week, I realized, and I'm sharing here something very personal, I realized that my daughter is suffering from PTSD and anxiety due to the war and the sirens. In addition to that, so you can imagine how many children are suffering. In addition to that, there are over 100,000 Israelis who are still displaced from their homes. Businesses have shut down. We have family members to hostages. This war is we are paying a huge price, a huge toll, emotionally, mentally, economically, and therefore we want this war to end as soon as possible. But this war will not end until every threat is eliminated, until our enemies are prepared to live side by side peacefully, and all our hostages return home. So thank you very much. That's all we have time for today. I ask you again, please check out the J Gives campaign on all our social media platforms. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, X. And we will see you Sunday, same time, 3 p.m. Israel time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's hope we have a great weekend. Thank you.